wind blows. Uh, that'd be my old hippie friend, Mickey. All right, we are live on YouTube. So, welcome everybody. So grateful that you're here. I'm turning the mic over to you, my old hippie friend, Mickey. There we go. Now we're here. There we go. Turn it over to you, Dove, Sharon, Mickey, Robert, Deb, whole host of great folks here in the room with us today. So turning this mic over to you all.
Is Lorri here?
I think she said she was going away. I think, I didn't really remember it, but I faintly remember it now.
Okay, all right.
So I can start with this favorite lesson, lesson 268. Let all things be exactly as they are.
Yeah.
Now, this lesson is really another lesson that's the whole course, because if we don't touch anything here, if we don't try to fix it, if we don't interfere, well, then we are in, the infinite. We're always in the infinite. Infinite's never left, but the objects that I believe at times is real are not. They're coming from my mind. I'm hallucinating them. I'm projecting everything, and even when I have a judgment about something out into the out picturing, it's really coming from inside. And if I have a judgment, then I haven't really seen all the parts of me that I have ignored. And there's no one here that doesn't have a Donald Trump in them. And that's I use him as a I guess just as an idea, just like I am. But he assumes at this time I'm not he doesn't assume he's acting as a force, and we are in we as Americans are in a constitution. They say a constitutional crisis. Now, I the character that I'm playing has judgment, because after all, I've never seen our government look like this, but I'm not living there. And I'm also paying attention when I'm judging. What am I not seeing in me? Where is the arrogance in Sharon? By the way, I have been arrogant in my life. Of course I have. But, when I look into the present moment, there's nothing happening. And so this lesson is a directive, like the way it was written, it's just brilliant. It says, Ken will say, this is another important lesson soon to be repeated, correcting the ego's need to change reality by turning it into its opposite, making separation truth and oneness illusion. Once we recognize this change, we can choose to accept things as they are truly by accepting the atonement. This principle is reflected into everyday lives by letting God's Son be one. And if I am in my true self, I don't care about what's going on in the world. So it's just a matter of paying attention. There might be, the reason I mentioned what I mentioned before is in my experience, I have had like a little bit of a judgment, not like it was, not nearly, but just the very thing. Like I go to Unity Church every other Sunday, and in Unity they do discuss politics, because it is, and in A Course in Miracles we don't, because we have a teaching that says you're not even there, right? You're not there. There's no you, and everything is you. So you better look at what you don't like. But it doesn't mean that I should lie and say I like what's going on. I like what's going on in the present moment, when I don't have concepts in my mind. So I'm not pretending that I'm so evolved that nothing bothers me, because I would be lying, and I'm not lying to myself, since I'm only talking to myself. There is no one out there. You guys are my projections, and so is Sharon. I'm coming from the higher mind when I say, let all things be exactly as they are. So what if I have a judgment? That's not even me. How can I be a thought? How can I be a concept? You know, I mean, we're being breathed, we're being moved by the divine will, and everything here is perfect. In fact, I look at this time in history as a helpful time to deal with self-hatred. You know, if the divine is working through all of this, there is a message because everything is for us. And I can see that as I look through my life because, you know, like everyone else, I've had special love and special hate. And I know how much the ego hates. Believe me, it's a hater. But we get to bring up all our stuff. So there's a gratitude to the trigger that we're getting, whoever's getting. There might be many beings that don't even care, you know, about just the idea that America has changed. And, you know, I, as Sharon, the character, tend to be dramatic. I want everybody treated fairly, but that's not true because this is an attack on the very thing that I really am. And that would be God. And God would accept because God is. There's no form in God. It's all formless. So, you know, Ken is saying, let me not be your critic, Lord, because when I am criticizing, I am criticizing myself, the big self, the big fish here. So, you know, it's not necessary to even say that, you know, I'm not awake, and when we're all awake, right? Because if you're in this, you know, in this process, you get to see that the outer picture is no different from the inner picture, and the awareness of aliveness is here. So that's Holy Spirit saying it's not true. You're dreaming. Nobody can hurt you. Your character's meaningless, which is appalling to the ego mind. How could I be meaningless? I put so much effort. And here this is, there's no effort in God. There's just allowing, right? So, you know, and as the character Sharon, she's drama queen. She wants everything to be fair since I'm a little girl because I feel like, wouldn't it be great? But that's not why this world was made. It was made truly as an attack on our very true selves. Okay, because as soon as we get into these concepts, the concepts produce an energy and vibration, and the vibration of the lower mind ego is always low. And since I'm a vibrational being, I want to stay as much as I can in the higher mind. And that's true desire. True desire comes from desiring only what is real. Because everything that's not real is meaningless. But the unchangeable awareness is not meaningless because it reflects heaven, right? And we do get a teacher in the Course. The Course in Miracles is a brilliant teaching. However, I think it's real honest on my part to say it was a hard teaching for me. I didn't like to have to give up my victimhood. And that was something that I was pulling with. I don't have victimhood anymore in my belief system, except when I feel sick. I can still see victim comes up. And sick means, because sick is always the ego. Sickness is really just the ego mind, right? So when I feel sick, you know, I could look at this like the ego would look at it and say, well, I must be a failure. But the body means nothing. The mind is everything. The mind that I chose was the mind that it seemingly looks like everyone chose. And there's a lot of fun in that mind, but there's one addiction, and that's to pleasure. Because we don't want pain, but we want pleasure. And they're the same animal. So I'm looking at my pleasure. What do I love so much? Snacking, eating. I mean, you know, I'm starting to love exercise, you know. You go back and forth because the ego doesn't want you to do anything different. And so then I do Ho'oponopono. I mean, Ho'oponopono is truly very useful. I did it for like a half hour this morning, and I've been doing the release technique because I had read the book, listened to Rafi, and I feel they're all tools. But what I really see is climbing the ladder is just that, a process. So in any case, I'm going to turn this over to you, Deb. Thank you. I can't hear you. You have your speaker on.
I was saying, Sharon, that was great, really wonderful. Everything you said was absolutely perfect. I like the way you use the word. It's about allowing, which is really an acceptance. And today's lesson happens to be one of my all-time favorite lessons. It goes right along with, as you know, I love the word acceptance. As Ken Wapnick says, acceptance is the most important word in A Course in Miracles. What can you not accept if you knew that everything that happens, all events, past, present, and even to come, are gently planned for you by one whose only purpose is your good? Get that in lesson 135, paragraph 18. Paragraph 18. And yeah, this course is really about accepting the truth of what you are. I think you kind of mentioned on, later this morning, we're going to be, Karen and I, starting at 10:30, going to be starting a new course, looking at the 20 lessons from, I'm not going to say from 181 to 200, because it's actually from 201 to 220, the reviews of 181 to 200, which he says any one of these 20 lessons is the entire course. The funny thing is, he said that at the very beginning of the course in the introduction, and everyone says, huh? And you said it this morning, by the way. You said, what's real can't be threatened. You can't lose the peace of God, baby. Nobody can take that away from you. What's unreal, it doesn't even exist. You got to laugh. Herein lies the peace of God. I mean, that was his first. So he's giving you, as far as I'm concerned, 21 things out of the whole course. The 20 that we're going to be going into in the next 20 weeks. We're doing one lesson a week. So today's lesson, believe it or not, is the perfect lesson, because outside of the 2 or 3 places where he talks about acceptance, like lesson 135, paragraph 18, there's also in my own mantra lesson 25, I don't know what anything is for. In paragraph 1, he says, hey, the Holy Spirit sees that everything is for you. It's always about acceptance. No, I can't accept that. What do you mean everything's for me? How about the time I lost all that money? That wasn't for me. You gotta laugh. You simply gotta laugh. Everything is for you. Absolutely, totally, certainty. So today's lesson, as usual, I take a review of what Ken Wapnick commentary is, and he always does it very nicely and concisely. Today's lesson is lesson 268. Let all things be exactly as they are. That's total acceptance. Just letting all things be exactly as you don't have to do anything. I need do nothing. All things are perfect exactly as they are. Ken comments, this lesson, therefore, corrects the ego's insanity by teaching that God's gifts of happiness, peace, joy, if they are ours, are everyone else's too. They cannot be stolen or taken, but simply accepted. Big word, accepted. Yeah. So I'm going to take a moment to read from the textbook, because like last Sunday when I was doing the tipping points of the Course in Miracles, and then was my reader on that. I wanted to include, but time started running out very quickly. We went right, I almost went right down to the finish line there. I never really included the reading from Entering the Ark, which of the 3 tipping points, which the first is innocence, the second is certainty, and the third is gratitude. Gratitude comes from one of those 20 lessons. It can be my own gratitude I earn. That's lesson 217, also 197. The innocence comes from there is nothing my holiness cannot do. Nothing my holiness cannot do. That means holiness is superpower. That's my superpower. But what is holiness? I don't use that word normally in my daytime life. You know, I don't say my holiness. No. So Ken gave me the inside track on holiness. He says innocence is just another word for holiness. Innocence. Ah. So, and today, by the way, he added a little to the other side of the equation. Someone asked today, what do you mean by guilt? So, you know, Dove and all of his insanity and madness thinks, well, guilt is when I have done something wrong. No, no, that's the ego would like you to think, you know, Dove doesn't do anything wrong. You know, he's a pious person. No, guilt is whenever you don't feel good about yourself, period. Whenever you think less of yourself for any reason, that's guilt. Woo! So we add that to the understanding of the cause. But where do you get certainty from? There's innocence, yeah, there's gratitude, but where does certainty come from? So I'm going to read where the certainty comes from, and it comes from entering the ark, which is chapter 20, section 4. And I was going to read this. Actually, I found something to read in the same section, which I'm going to do for today because it goes perfect with our course coming up, which Karen and I are starting in just about 2 hours almost. Okay, so whenever you see the word purpose, that's a biggie. And he says in page 233, in paragraph 7, he says, this is the purpose given you. Let me listen up a little so I understand this. Think not that your forgiveness of your brother. Remember, today's lesson is I trust my brother who is one with me, Lynn's favorite lesson. And it starts out, everyone is my brother. There's no one that's not my brother. He goes on to say, for the whole new world rests in the hands of every two who enter here to rest. Yeah, and where am I resting? Lesson 109, I rest in God. God is innocence, certainty. Wow. What could be more certain than Son of God? Yeah. We're getting there. I'm going to skip over to paragraph 8, which if you listen to this, if you're not familiar with this paragraph, you're going to be amazed, truly amazed. So listen up. He says, you know, you may wonder how you can be at peace when while you are in time, there's so much that must be done before the way to peace is over. That's true, baby. I got a lot on my plate, baby. Perhaps this seems impossible to you, but ask yourself if it's possible that God would have a plan for your salvation that does not work. No, I don't think that's possible. If it's God's plan, it works. Once you accept his plan, capital H, as the one function that you would fulfill, there'll be nothing else the Holy Spirit will not arrange for you without your effort. You mean I don't have to do anything? It'll all be arranged for me by the Holy Spirit. I need do nothing. That sounds like a miracle. I mean, I need do nothing. It'll all arranged. Now, when you say arrange, what do you mean by arrange, Jesus? And now he tells you. He will go before you, making straight your path and leaving in your way no stones to trip on. I like that. I trip easily. No obstacles to bar your way. I like that too because I always have a lot of obstacles barring my way. Nothing you need will be denied you. Really? Wow, I'm beginning to experience that already. Not one seeming difficult, but will melt away before you reach it. You mean before I even get there, just melt away? I've had those experiences. You need take thought for nothing. You mean I don't have to think about this stuff? You can be careless of everything. You mean I don't have to do anything? I can be careless, careless of everything except the only purpose. Oh, there's the word purpose. The only purpose that you would fulfill. Ah, I want to know my purpose. Here it is. As that was given to you, so will its fulfillment be. And here's the words that the ego first smiles and says, really? And then finds the truth at the end and says, God's guarantee. Wait a minute. God's given me a guarantee. He doesn't even know I'm here. God's guarantee will hold against all obstacles, for it rests on certainty and not contingency. So there's no gamble here. We're not taking chances, contingencies, certainty. The ego is saying, I got a shot here. I got a shot. And then Jesus gives you the good news. It rests on you. Ego is not understanding this, but it rests on you. And what can be more certain than a son of God? What can be more certain than a son of God? Complete. Anybody want to share? Go back to Sharon. Mickey, are you on today?
You might have
I
woken
am.
up.
Anybody want to share? It's open.
Well, if Mickey, you want to share,
Oh,
Lynn?
no, I thought Deb was asking if I was going to be on later.
I thought maybe you were taking Lori's place.
Oh, no, I was not asked to step in on that. But
By the way, certainty means you don't have to be asked.
I don't have, oh my God, I thought you just said certainty means you don't have to BS.
You got to get tuned in. Certainty means no one has to ask you. You are the certain holy Son of God. You can share anytime.
But you also don't have to BS anybody. Sometimes my hearing is way more humorous than reality.
As Lynn says, you are our favorite hippie.
I, I believe she said old hippie as well.
I don't see you as an old hippie, by the way. I really see you young hippie. Anyone who
But
anyone who laughs the way you do is a young hippie.
that's true. I do. And I laugh a lot.
Old hippies don't laugh a lot.
Okay.
Didn't mean to call you old. That's what I call
That's
myself.
okay.
I'm an old hippie.
You know,
In fact, I'm thinking about doing a podcast called Your Old Hippie Grandma. Um,
um, I
because I
will,
think a lot of kids would get a kick out of what we did and knew and
I
everything.
will do that with you, Lynn,
All right.
because I consider myself an old hippie grandma. But I do have a short story about what Deb was saying. Can you guys hear me okay? There's
Yes,
leaf
dear.
blowers
Yeah,
outside.
you sound good.
Okay. So it's really funny that Dove decided that holiness he would like to equate with innocence, and it brought up an old trigger of mine, which was really funny. And you guys know that I used to be in another group for a number of years, and the person that led that group would always change holiness to innocence. And so you're right in line there, Dove. And it would drive me bonkers because I would say, "What's wrong with holiness? I'm holy, you're holy. Can't we be holy? Why do we have to scale that back?" And I'm not criticizing you, Dove. I know I love you, darling. Wait, you're muted.
There's nothing wrong with holiness, except that I don't use it in normal everyday language. In other words,
Mhm.
I don't go around saying, I feel very holy today. I don't do that. But innocent means I feel that I'm really a good person. I'm really a good person. I don't do anything to hurt anybody. I'm innocent.
And that's funny because I equate innocence with
Oh,
naivete.
that's true.
Like you're innocent. Yeah, I'm innocent. I'm
I,
naive. I'm a
okay.
Pollyanna. I do nothing wrong. To me, it kind of has this backstory
Okay.
of weakness,
Oh,
maybe a little
that's
bit.
that's a story that you have. I don't have.
Yes. Yeah,
I
and
like
that.
the word. I like the word ingenue. You're somebody who brand
Mhm.
having a debut in society. They're brand new. You know.
Right.
The Kabbalah honors a new person that enters the Kabbalah. If a new person implies and is accepted in the Kabbalah, everybody is quiet and they ask the new person to please talk to us about what it is that you would like us to know. So no one wants to put their stuff on the new person. They want to hear, because the new person is the last person that's coming from God into the Kabbalah. So they want to hear what God is sending the new person. So that's how I see innocence.
Yeah, and so you can see why that triggered me a little bit because I'm equating innocence with a defenseless little baby
Yeah,
who's
right.
weak and at the mercy of others.
Naive, and
Yeah, and to
stupid,
me,
stupid, and,
holiness invokes strength and power and standing in the 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 power of God, like so it's funny all the stories we put, behind words, and that's why words are symbols and of symbols and twice removed from reality because they're so unreliable.
that's right. I mean, we use the word guilt a lot in the Course of Miracles. I see guilt in others, and today I actually mentioned I don't even know what guilt is because I thought the guilt was, you know, he's done something wrong or I've done something. No, no, no. Guilt, as Ken Wapnick sees it, is whenever you don't feel good about yourself. You think that I could have done better. I wish I had. So guilt means lack, lack, lack.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Anyway, that's my spiel about innocence, and I'm gonna stick with holiness if that's okay with everybody.
Yeah, and I'm going to jump in here because I agree with Mickey. Holy is powerful. When I am holy, I am in my power. I'm in my strength. I'm experiencing the strength of God. When I'm innocent, yeah, it's a wonderful thing, but it's a very vulnerable thing. And so to me, innocence, I mean, it's a great thing, and I want to give it to everybody. But holiness Do I want to see you holy? Do I want to see my brother holy? Do I want to see myself as holy? Um, I don't know if I'm worthy of that. That's that's what I think. Holiness is a strength that takes you beyond um, this world and aligns you with the power of God. So I like holy too. Anyway, back to you guys.
All right. I like them both. uh, yesterday we were at last night. Cliff and I we took a course on grief because we wanted to help the community, and this is a training for people who have lost people, and they what they do is they train people that to be able to become a grief facilitator. And it's far better, when I'm helping than when I'm trying to judge, right? But last night there was a story about guilt, and it was about a little girl that was guilty. She went and she got, I told her mother she demanded that she get her this ice cream. And when her mother listened, somebody came across and crashed her mother's car, and her little brother died. So therefore, she was in guilt. Now, I kept my mouth shut. I was just listening to the people that were teaching us about this, being a facilitator. And I thought, when you go back in life, you're always feeling in a way guilty, because guilt is when we see us in form. The form that we're in is total guilt. The form that we're in is really our costume. We're hiding. We're hiding our face behind the mask of a character, when in fact the character is not our reality. Our reality is that there is nothing but the peace of God, because there's only God. And we're all like anxious, at least I'll take it from myself. My interpretation is that I feel I want it all over with. I want to just be in my Christ form. And is that really going to happen? Because that's the small I that wants it. The big I says, be patient. You're undoing. This takes time. And there's really only one. The I, some people look at the I as the small I. We do have, if you listen to Rupert Spira, he goes to the I consciousness. You can do either or. But guilt is the driver in this world. It happened even in the voting situation. If if you're on one side or the other, you're in guilt because you're actually in hate, because we are the same. Think about that. We are all the same. And when we have a preference, keep it to, basically now I'm teaching myself, keep it to yourself, because it's an interpretation of what I want as the character. And when we were talking about innocence and holiness, that truly is interpretation. You can't get this stuff wrong. It's like we are being perfectly guided all the time, even when we think, or I think, because I talk to, as a teacher, like, that's what I've been doing for so many years. It's not a we thing. It's really my mind that I really have to heal. I mean, we're in this together, that's for sure. And there's only oneness. This is like such a miracle. Just giving it a little bit of a moment to say, how the heck did this even happen? And it can't be answered because it didn't. A dream is ephemeral. It isn't real. And, it's funny because when you really just sit there and realize it's meaningless, because it is a dream, right? So Ken writes here, Jesus helps us understand here when he says, what can frighten me when I let all things be exactly as they are? These lessons were done to cut the fear down and to bring the ego to peace, or whether it falls away. Because the ego is not an enemy, it's a machine. And we are the ones that work this machine. But when we really believe, or I believe, because I keep saying we, is that I can't get there or I'm not there. You can't go anywhere but here. because you've never been the character, and the character was just a bunch of stories, right? So he says here, Ken, we can be hurt only in a dualistic world, but never in the state of perfect oneness. Only in illusion can we project guilt onto others, which means we can be hurt in return. Whenever we feel fearful, guilty, or depressed, it is always because we have denied the reality of the Son of God, saying, God's Son is the way I would have him be, not the way God created me. Now, I want to read that again, because that is what I'm doing whenever I'm really judging. Because if God's Son is formless, the distraction is formed, and it is blinding, right? So, pulling myself out is a gift. Because, as I right up the ladder here, it's a very beautiful process as long as the ego isn't believed that I should be further along. Because you can't really be where you're not, right? Because it's all conceptual. Let not our sight be blasphemous today, nor let our ears attend to lying tongues. Only reality is free of pain. Only reality is free of loss. Only reality is wholly safe. And it is only this we seek today. Why would we not choose happiness, peace, and safety when it is all it takes is a simple change of mind from the ego's blasphemy to accepting the holiness of God's creation? If I see myself as a soul, spirit, God, I'm free. And it's like, the gratitude is probably one of the strongest gifts that we got in this process. Because once I'm in gratitude, I can't be in lack. You can't be in one side of the mind at the same time. So if gratitude becomes a habit, right, it becomes the best habit. Because even simple gratitude, even in the body, who's waking us up in the morning? Whose breath are we breathing? Who's moving? A brain can't move us. The brain is just with the mind. So we could say, well, the mind's moving us. No, it's all God. It's God in drag, right? So it's like, I think whether you still judge or you don't judge isn't important as much as really knowing who you are. I mean, the certainty is the word, right? When you're certain that you don't have, and certainty for me comes and goes, but I don't sit there and belabor over oh, I didn't get that right, I must not be awake. You're always awake. Awakeness is the thing that's making this whole dream. So, it's kind of like, and the fitting in with other people, well, we all like to fit in with our problems. At least I did. I mean, that's how humans really relate. What do you think of this? And we all just bond. But we're really just searching for that oneness. The oneness that we are here now and have never been anywhere else. To be the light is the gift. To be the form is not the gift. And, it says all of these illusions, guilt, pain, and depression. This is from chapter 10. And the many other forms that blasphemy may take are refusals to accept creation as it is. If God created his Son perfect, that is how you must learn to see him, to learn of his reality. And as the heart of the sonship, that is how you must see yourself to learn of yours. So I trust my brothers who are one with me is really the ticket out of here. Look at your brother. Do you see him in form? Because it's a mirror of your mind. So if you stay in the formless of oneness and just pay attention to the gifts of God and realize, that you don't have to get there. I used to have the thing, well, I'll wake up someday, or I will sound, I'll know what they're saying someday, or I got to find out what every word in this course means. Well, those are all the ego trying to distract us. And everything in form in this phenomena that we're looking at now is a distraction. And what the ego will say to me is, well, you're not going to be here that long. You're already in your 70s. Well, we don't know that either. In form or formless, we don't know. Do I want to stay? Yes, this is the best time in my life. I have definitely feel like I was caught in a web of victimhood and drama for so long, right? And believing everything and every word everybody said, when in fact, every word that everyone says to me is my words because it is a hologram. My words, and I couldn't get that. I could not get that until there was an opening, you know, but there had to be this stubbornness down at the bottom of the mind because the unconscious or subconscious is doing all of this. And we, as like when I do Ho'oponopono, it's bringing that, it's called clearing. You're clearing that stuff out of the way. Does it go away completely? Well, the whole point of these tools is to use them because you're not doing anything but doing it for yourself, right, Sharon? You're teaching yourself, you're learning. I couldn't pull myself away when I was on Gather years ago when I found it. It was I had no social life outside of my room because I loved this whole thing. I was in love with it. And then we somehow moved to another platform, and that was good, but it wasn't like Gather. And that's probably because the part of me that still wants to be Sharon wants to go back into that nostalgia. But the truth is that they all served me. Everything serves us. But I didn't even read the book that much in those days because I had teachers one after another. Dove had a group where we did not really have time off. This was going all day from 6 in the morning, sometimes to 11 at night. And I had the best time. And I knew that, I hear other people say, well, I can't do something if I don't get out of my house. I can't do things on the screen. But I've been doing that and loving it. So there's the knowing in me that knew that form is meaningless. My friend once said to me, I got to see a person. See, that's the whole problem. We're looking for that other person, but the character really is meaningless. It's the formlessness, this beauty of grace, right? And the acceptance of spirit. But I'm not pushing away the anger because that's really a huge, huge way for this mind to hide. Because it never liked getting angry. It was never comfortable with anger. I don't think any of us are. That is so out of realm of what we truly are. So I was playing a part, but that part has to dissolve into, you could say, the illusion of oneness, because this is still reflection. So, and there will be times that, like when I'd have wear stockings, the ring used to get caught, So it's kind of like you're getting caught in different webs, but you're going to get out of it because Jesus says in the Course, He's not going to let us suffer here. That's not what this is about. This is just a classroom. And the whole point is to let go, Sharon, and I'm talking to Sharon, of the character, because the character you think is you. And that character had her life, and it was always drama, because you can't not be in drama when you're in the ego. Now, I do believe, and I know Ken has said this, that, when you are in the ego, you grow back into the right mind. Because, I tended to see a lot of people as wonderful because I was looking for the good. But that's because spirit was guiding me that way. Ego never looks for the good. And, don't get me to a place where I have to tell the truth. There were people that I didn't like, too. I didn't like not liking people, though. I didn't like it. It wasn't comfortable. Now I bought this book. I tried to get it on Amazon. It was $25. A Symphony of Love. And I know that Bruce and Lynn are going to be doing that. And sometimes I work at 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays. I can usually make 11:30. So I got the book myself on eBay, and it was 25 on, I think it was like less than $10 on eBay, A Symphony of Love. And this is the autobiography of Ken Wapnick. And it had so many opinions, like, when they were evaluating the book, it was that he truly loved God. And isn't that what we want? It's like when Dove says something like, love the truth, that's where you focus. Love the truth because that's what's real, Well, I don't know the truth. Yeah, you do, because that's when you let go of all of the assumptions that live in the mind. Because I'm assuming things are a certain way, but they're not that way, even in the dream, because it comes from my filter. And whatever my filter decided, you know, I tend to love people, like I said, to be treated well and to be loved because not only who we are, but we've always gravitated towards love. So when I look at the world the way it truly is, that it's love or a call for love, then I can stay right here and just know that all things work in my behalf and everyone else's. Let all things be exactly as they are. These lessons are brilliant, but the depth of the course, because it's a deep, deep text. I've had people say to me, "You're still doing the course? Like that's like not like a higher teaching?" And it's not. That's ego telling you which is a higher teaching. That's ridiculous. First of all, it's the deepest book I've ever opened, and it scared me because it's the one book that says there is no world. But it didn't scare me. It scared the ego. We have a me with a capital M and then a me with a lowercase. But really, it's all for everyone. And today we need to celebrate because Dove and Karen are going to be on, and I'm going to enjoy it today. It's such a beautiful schedule today, and I was excited about it. Hello, Regis. Anyway, I'm going to turn it over to you, Dove, and anybody else can take the mic too, because I am complete. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharon. That was beautiful. I wrote down a lot of stuff that you said. Yes, it's Thankful Thursday. If anyone wants to share right now, please do. We still have another 10 minutes. And I did want to answer Glorian's question. Glorian asked, who wrote that? Ken? So what is it that you're referring to, Glorian, when you say who wrote what?
The book that is going to be read on Saturdays, what Sharon mentioned, the book that Sharon mentioned.
Oh, Sharon.
It's Ken.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's Ken. I mean, it's in order. I think these are Ken's essays. This is all coming from Ken's mind. So it would be Ken.
Yeah,
It's a
and
story of him. Like
I
his
think that
relationship with God was like, I mean, when I even read some of the things, like before got the course, he was already on his way to be a monk. So this man he was truly picked by all of us to be what I would say the teacher of the course. But I'm not saying all of you aren't, because you are, because we're all the same. But he was there from the beginning. So in any case, sorry, Dub, over to you.
I was just going to say Gloria is the one who put this together. So
Oh,
Gloria,
I didn't know that. Okay, thanks.
yeah, the wife of Ken, Gloria Wapnick, and so yeah, basically it's all of it. It's his poetry, his essays, stories about his life, all kinds of cool stuff. I'm really looking forward to reading it with Bruce. But yeah, it's Gloria Wapnick that put this together. So thank you. Anyway, back to you guys.
All right. Anyone else have anything they want to share? We have another 10 minutes. Yeah, as Sharon was speaking, she said a lot of great things, which I'm going to go over right now. I did take another look at innocence, and that's for sure that, you know, I remember when I was a kid in the schoolyard and someone called your name and you said, well, if you spot it, you got it. It takes one to know one. Uh, so actually, all that stuff, name calling and all the stuff of this world, certainly is all ego identity. Innocence, I agree with you, is like being a newborn babe. I mean, you're brand new. It's like that book, Stranger in a Strange Land, Grok. Uh, they showed him things and they thought he would have a point of view, good or bad, right? And he said, "Oh, it's wonderful." I grok it. Hi, Karen. Welcome, Regis, everyone, Glorian who just came in. Uh, some of the things that Sharon shared, I'm going to go over. She said basically, what did Karen say? She said, only God is. That's so perfect. A 3-word sentence. Only God is. Jesus shortened it to 2 words. God is. And Ken says, you know, it's really the isness, as Mandy says. We are the verb, the eternal verb that just goes on forever and forever. You don't even have to use the word God. And then she said, only God is real. And then she said, there is nothing, I like that word, but the peace of God. That's exactly what Jesus is saying. There's nothing but, you can't lose the peace of God. You cannot lose it. You entered into a classroom, a world, quote unquote, where it appears that other people are dreaming you in their dream, and they can take your peace away. And that's the entire Course in Miracles. Nothing in this world can take the peace of God away from you. You are the peace of God. That's your immunity. That's your invulnerability. That's your eternal innocence, the peace of God. Then she said, well, if you have an interpretation, keep it to yourself. And I totally agree with you, Sharon, because it is an interpretation, which is a perception, and a perception is not a fact. Perception is, that's my point of view, you know what I mean? And I realize that that's what politics is all about. Yeah. The ego is a lobby, and I like the way it just came. The ego is a political lobby for our false identity. Yeah, it's certainly not going to side with God's identity or spirit's identity or love's identity. It's going to be always looking at the false identity, which you are not what you are, what you are not. And then it goes on to say, only reality, only keyword, only reality is free of loss. That's what Sharon said. Sharon said, only reality is free of loss. That's a great line, Sharon. And then Robert said, if my body is the mask that hides my face from God, then the sooner I am free of it, the sooner my perfection is revealed. And that reminds me that, you know, in the 20 lessons that Karen and I are going to be going into, we usually don't look at the thing that goes with all the lessons. It seems to be like a border, you know. But the border this time is, I am not a body. I am free. I am still as love created me. Yeah, I am as love created me. How innocent can that be? I mean, really, you know, you're either guilty or innocent, right? What is the verdict? Are we bringing back a guilty verdict or innocence? Well, actually, innocence is really the idea of accepting the atonement for yourself. Why is that? Because he tells you nothing happened. Nothing. What you think happened never happened. Yeah. Kind of like, you know, brand new. Nothing in this world means anything. Isn't that lesson number one? Nothing I see in this world means anything. Well, just in case you think it means something, why don't you go on to lesson two? I mean, you know, That'll, that'll help. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, usually we look at those borders on the review lessons as well. Yeah, it's a border. One guy, Peter Fishman, who used to teach a wonderful, holy, innocent guy. Peter Fishman, those people know Peter. He was a great singer. He played Jesus Christ in what's the name of that play? The gospel, whatever it is.
Jesus Christ Superstar.
Christ Superstar. Thank you. He used one of those borders for his name. He gave up the name Peter, and he called himself Gablatzai. Now, if you never knew what Gablatzai meant, you do need a little interpretation here. The G, the I, the B, the L, the A, the T, the S, and A. God is but love, and therefore so am I. That was the border on, I think, lessons 160 or 180, something like that. It doesn't matter. God is but love, and therefore so am I. Gablatzai. And he became, in all of his communications, and I know that Zulma remembers Peter Fishman, Gablatzai.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm just about at that time where I'm kind of winding it all up, inviting everybody to our 10:30 opening for our 20-week course. We're looking at lesson 201. And he says any one of these lessons is a whole course. And instead of reading, we're going to be coming from our self, our one self, because he says, hey, listen, I'm going to give you just a couple words, like everyone's my brother. Can I trust my brother who was one with me? Yeah. Let's see what comes up. Karen, go ahead.
Thanks, Dov. Hi, everyone. I wanted to comment on something Sharon said about interpretation, like our interpretation. And what came to me, of course, is God is, and then we cease to speak. But then there was a couple of things that came to me this morning. Silence is the language of God. All else is poor translation, And that is attributed to Rumi and Thomas Keating. And then what else? Language is the source of misunderstandings. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. May not be pronouncing that right, but that is basically what the Course is teaching us, and what the Course says, that words are but symbols. So all language is but a poor translation, and silence is the language of God. All else is poor translation. So that just came to me this morning, and I wanted to share that as a result of Sharon's sharing. Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Karen. And I do appreciate your sharing sharing that as well. Oh my goodness. So this has been a great hour. I'm so appreciative of everyone who's here. Thank you all for showing up. I got two Zulmas here, so that may be a good thing. All right. You can never have too much Zulma, that's for sure. Anyway, I'm gonna